And then we'll do a quick little roll call. And we have myself, Pat Nave, Cynthia Gagne, David Semperio, and Jason Herring. So if Thomas or Craig or I think Dan said he was not going to make it. So if Thomas or Craig come in, we'll admit them. So let me make Jason. Do you want me to make you the co-host so that you could share? Will you be needing to share anything? Or Pat, do you want to share something?
I don't know how to do it. And Jason, can you, if you can co-host and share the map that I sent out in that email? Would
Okay,
be
I
helpful.
haven't even looked at it yet, so I mean, you have to give me a few minutes.
Okay, and I don't know. I sent an email with selection criteria. You know, the kind of the charter requirements for contracting. You know, I sent that email out last week. I think I may have just sent it to you, Christian, and maybe to Jason.
Yeah. Okay, well, first order of business is public comment on items not on the agenda. Does anyone have any public comment on items not on the agenda while Jason gets up to speed on whatever he's looking at there? Comments on items not on the agenda? Okay. If not, then we'll move on. And then
Oh, I was
that
gonna
first
say, I can't unmute. I was gonna say I like the map or the forecast that Pat sent us because it was really broken down into a lot of segments of the day, telling us how bad the air was going to be.
Yeah, there it is.
The second one, I like the other one better.
I think I only sent one.
Huh, I have two on mine.
I sent one on purpose. I don't know what else might have happened. But what this map shows.
We're taking up item 3 now. Is that what you're doing, Pat? We're moving on to number 3?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Carry on, carry on.
Well, this map shows, those little green dots show locations of air quality monitors. Most of them are the purple air kind of monitors that Jason has at his house. And those get updated every couple minutes. And the charts on the left show the PM10 and the PM2.5 measurements throughout the day. And you can see the couple of spikes there on the left where it was very hazardous at that particular location. The when this map was called to my attention by Richard Havenick in the coastal area, and he's really good and up to date on air quality issues, and has been for a long time, and is well connected to a lot of people in that industry. Anyway, he said, you know, he will support, you know, what we're doing because we don't have that many in Northwest, but maybe we want to. I suggested to him and talked to Jason a little bit about it. Maybe we want to do a little more work on seeing if we can connect these air quality monitors to give us a better picture of dispersal of pollutants in the area. I don't know if we did that, we would put it over, but then I would suggest that we could talk about a couple of things tonight. One is the criteria that the city ordinarily demands or requires if you want to spend city money. One is why the expenditure is needed, and second, what is the criteria on which you're going to select a supplier. So if we could talk about that, then that could guide us while we did a little more work, or we can even go further than that and say, hey, we still want to go with the 4 in our area and add them to this essentially add them to this map. What do you think? What's your desire here, Christian?
Well, I think that if we were to do a more broad coordinated effort, I think that would be good. Maybe we want to explore or talk to maybe Jesse Marquez. I don't know if you know who he is, but he's
Yep.
probably done
Yeah.
some pilot air monitoring before, and so he might be able to give us some insight into that. And then, yeah, I think it's essentially, I think what Melanie wanted, if we proceed with just our own independent thing, is she wanted to make sure we have places in mind. So, for example, I don't know, Jason's house or like Cynthia's house or a business. Maybe you have a friend who owns a business. And so we'd want to come up with some options on where to put them. And then I saw the resolution, and I think the information on the resolution was overall sufficient, other than just having some specific places or people to host
Yeah.
their monitor. So I don't really see a depending on our patients, I don't really see a drawback to going more coordinated with coastal and kind of making it more wide scale. And I see David's hand. What is your idea, David Samperio? David, your
Okay.
hand was up. Go ahead.
Oh, he's not in the,
I don't hear him.
he's, yeah, he's there as an attendee. He's not on as a panelist right
Oh,
now.
Oh, okay. Maybe I think he said he was going to log on he might just be logging on through his computer, and maybe that's why he raised his hand.
What I think would
Do that.
be, oh, there he is.
Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, I just had to log into my computer. I'm here. That's all. That's all. That's all I needed to do.
He called on you because you had your hand up. You had something you wanted to,
No, that's because I wasn't a panelist. I just jumped on the computer and I had to just get back on. That's all.
understood.
Okay.
What I think would help us is we could have a short discussion on the criteria, what we want to do with the air quality monitors, and then also the criteria for selection. I think would help us. And then we will have that as we go forward and select a vendor, we'll have that to guide us. And then we'll bring it to the full board.
Pat, are you, oops. Oh, can you hear me? Am I unmuted? Are you thinking of doing this like neighborhood council wide, having all the neighborhood councils involved in this maybe later?
If we can get them to do it.
If
Sure.
we want to do that, we might want to contact the neighborhood Congress steering committee or whatever it's called. We have a neighborhood Congress that all the neighborhoods meet once a year in September, and you might want to have a class on it. And tell them
Maybe
what kind of we're using and where we're using it and why, and they might all want it too.
Given the number of respiratory problems we have in and around the ports, we talked about that earlier. Cynthia, with the asthma and
Yeah.
COPD and so forth. I was thinking mostly right now, a smaller group like Wilmington, Coastal, Central, and Northwest.
Okay.
Make sure we have good measurements. Some of these, this map was an eye opener to me because there's already a monitor, for example, next to Taper Avenue School. And
And I didn't know that.
I didn't know it until I found this map either, but if you click on these, when you pull this map up on your own computer and put your cursor on one of the green dots.
But are you
it'll
sure?
tell you- Yeah, I'm sure. You
No,
can
but I
click on-
meant, are you sure it's around Taper Avenue and it isn't the one that Peter Burmeister had at his house? Because
Might be, there it is, it's still working. See it, Taper Elementary School. Good.
I think
air
that's the one
quality.
at Peter's house. Huh.
Maybe, but you can see that there's a couple of times during the day when it was in a hazardous condition there for PM 2.5. So, the recommendation that I had in the draft resolution was, let's get one that is close to the freeway, one that's close to the refinery, one that's close to a school, and then one close to like a shopping center or like up along Western or something like that, that would give us, a a fair reading. And Jason.
I'd be
is-
good for that one, the one by, up on Western, because I'm close to Western. I'm halfway between, a little bit closer than halfway between.
Melanie LeBrecq would be kind of interesting because she's going to she backs right up on Target and on
Yeah, she's
Capitol Drive.
down, yeah, she's down on Gaffey, close to Gaffey.
Well, yeah, she's right there on she backs up right onto the Target lot, right there on Capitol Drive. Capitol Drive and Target is where she is.
I'm just thinking one up at closer to Western too is a good idea because we're going to be getting so much traffic with Punta Vista and all that
Yeah.
there pretty
So
soon.
I'm thinking that I don't think that we're really required to go into that much detail to get it through the city clerk once we decide on a vendor. No, I can help Melanie a lot with that because, you know, for 30 years, that's what I did at the port, among other things, of course, was getting contracts through the city. So that level of detail isn't needed, but we do have to have the reasons we want it. And those
How many?
Huh?
How many are you thinking we should have?
I think we already voted 4
Okay, I couldn't remember.
in November, yeah, but we didn't really say why we wanted them. The draft resolution has a couple of thoughts in there. One is that we need the data and are commenting on environmental documents. We need it also for tracking in order to kind of get an overview over a period of time as to what the areas are. And the third one, most importantly, is that there's been a controversy for years about how environmental consultants count air emission damage. Right now, they just use a standard that says it's got to exceed 10 deaths, cancer deaths per 100,000 people in order to be significant. They don't measure things like days missed from work, from respiratory problems. They don't track childhood asthma and childhood COPD or adult COPD or anything like that in the areas. But you can hear, you go ask any doctor, Kaiser or any place else, for anecdotal evidence of respiratory problems from living in this area, and their eyes will, they all have stories about them. I've asked a number of them, and Cynthia has some data on that too. So eventually, there's been some pressure for a long time to change the way the regulatory, you know, or the ports count air impacts. So that's another reason to track this data to see if in fact there is an impact that can be addressed and what the ports do to mitigate these damages. So those, and if those are okay with you, then we can kind of agree that we'll use that in the final resolution. The other part of the draft resolution that I sent to Christian said we should be looking at several things in selecting a vendor. One is, you know, accuracy of the material, whether it's a warranty, whether it's a plug-in device so that we don't have to rely on battery operated equipment, whether it has real-time tracking and reporting, and whether it can store data. And those 5 things. It happens that the one that Jason already picked, and then of course price is a determinant because the city's always interested in price when you're buying something. And those criteria, the purple air monitor that Jason picked meets all those criteria. I don't know if others do, but clearly to me those are the ones that are going to make it possible for us to do the tracking that I'm suggesting. We'll probably need a little time to, you know, we'll need this next month to actually pick somebody, but to recommend. And that can be done in 2 ways. We could adopt a resolution now covering criteria and the reasons why we want to do it. And then during this month, come up with some more, put those into a final draft resolution, and that would be the one that would go to the board. Since it wouldn't have time to go back through this committee, it would take a motion and a second at the time of the board meeting to be presented. So what do you guys think?
I think that would be a good way to do it.
I want to hear from David and Jason in particular. David, because you're on the docks, aren't you? David?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just getting, acquainted with all this. I know with the docks, going with our machines, whether it's the top handlers or UTRs, going to electrical machines, things like that. So yeah, I think this is a good idea. You had mentioned, Pat, that you said that there's 4 of those monitors that are already ordered.
No, we haven't ordered them. We proposed in November to buy 4. but
Okay,
The ones that we kind of looked at so far, the kind of Jason has measures in real time and reports in real time on a map like this.
okay.
And those
And
are
Peter
two-
has one, I guess, too.
Sorry?
And Peter has one, so we have 2 already.
Oh, okay.
So we,
Oh,
well, I know Jason's doesn't belong to us, but I'm sure he'd share some information.
We can certainly maybe enlist some of these other sites as well. Too, there's a bunch of them down in the South Shores area. Well, not a bunch of them, but 4 or 5, a half dozen of them down there. Maybe we can talk to those people too.
My information is already shared. It's right there.
I'm sorry?
My information is already shared. It's right there.
Right there. Okay.
Which one are you, Jason? What number?
I'm this guy on the screen right now.
Number 3.
Oh,
Well, it's a quality measurement of 3.
Oh,
oh, oh,
okay, yeah.
It's 5.
Number 5, okay.
That's not me. No, I'm over here.
oh, you're the one with the gray around your green.
That's what's highlighted, meaning this little detail is pulled up.
Gotcha. Oh, just click on it and it gets it up. Oh, cool.
Yeah. So,
I'm just amazed at it. It really is interesting because, man, that one little speck of orange there. I mean, think if you just went out and be breathing bad air, it's like terrible.
Jason uses it to determine his exercise schedule when he runs. He wants to make sure that
Especially in the summer when there's fires. I mean, my criteria for buying this was, look, I'm not going to spend a lot of money if I can avoid it. So I bought the cheapest thing that did pretty much, real-time reporting, records to a map, has trending and all this stuff, and does PM 2.5 and 10. So the cheapest one that did all that was this one, and that's what I bought.
It's adequate. It's nice.
Well, you've had it several years, so we know it works for a while,
Yep.
And I don't know, you want to, what we
We
can,
ask them questions about it. Like, does yours run on battery or
Oh,
electricity?
no, they would something that runs like this has to be plugged in. It actually uses a USB power port. You just run a cord to.
Is it sort of like amount of electricity as a light bulb, or is it a lot more?
It's what do you use to charge a phone?
Oh, that's pretty good.
Phone charger adapter.
Huh.
It sits outside. You'll need to run a cable or have an outdoor outlet. You don't want your power adapter to get rained on. So on the odd chance we have rain like today, so you want it so that's shielded. They recommend it doesn't sit. It should sit maybe a bit under an awning, but not buried where it can't get good airflow. Not near an outdoor barbecue grill. Obviously, that's going to taint the test. Things like that, right? Not near the exhaust from your house's furnace because that can taint the sample as well.
Okay.
I think Jason, if Jason suggested, we talked a bit ago about it too, about how long to have these things in place, and he's suggesting it takes we should do it, plan on a year on site, for each one to give us a good reading.
I don't think I'd want to move it around every few months because you get seasonal things and Santa Ana type of winds. I mean, you want a longer sampling. I kind of look for ideal positions to leave them in place for a long time, and if we find them successful, we could add more in the future. But I'm not sure I'd even want to move them. I'd want to have a good sighting of the things and just let them run. Because data trending only works when you have long-term amounts of data with controlled conditions, right? If you keep
In a stationary spot.
if you keep moving stuff around, you don't have consistent data to say, You know, when you're saying, look, we've seen traffic on the 110 pollution increase over 3 years. Well, you don't know because you moved the meter.
Yeah, and we're gonna see more and more 24/7. The port's actually kind of surprised that they haven't seen more 24/7 already. But with an increase in 24/7, we're gonna see more truck traffic on the freeways and some more, particulates, tire scuffings and products of internal combustion engines and things like that. We're gonna see that in the air more around the clock too, as we go forward. Excuse me.
Yeah, these units are super easy to set up. You pretty much just you set up an account so it can log into the website, plug it into your Wi-Fi, and it just does its thing. So very low
Okay.
maintenance. You don't have to do.
How big is it?
I don't know. It's not big.
Big as your fist?
Well, about the size of a fist.
Yeah,
Not a petite little woman's fist. You know, like a big fist.
Hmm.
I think they're like 4 by 5 inches or something like that. So the dimensions are on the Purple Air website.
They do have one that stores data without web. The websites, record all the data for trending, these collection sites. They have one that also has an SD slot. So if you want to keep it local, I mean, you don't have to connect it to the internet. Or if you want data that you want to, for some reason, have the local file and not use the websites that display the stuff, that's an option. And I think that one's like $20 more or something for that option. That's this brand. I haven't looked into competition for this since I bought this, and that was like 2-3 years ago. So.
I know you're tied up in a project right now, Jason, but between now and say the March meeting or something like that, would you have any time to, get more up to date on what the products are available out there? Excuse me.
Yeah, I can take a look and see what else has come to light.
I'd help you too. Do a little shopping on that. I mean, talking probably a couple hours to do it.
General electronics and things get cheaper over time, but this one's the exact same price as what I paid for it like 2-3 years ago. So I don't think this market there's too many competitors. There's a lot.
You would think they would.
There's a lot of homemade projects out there you see, but nothing that just works like this easy push button, click, click, let it go.
Well, we've got a couple of things we can do. It seems to me we can go ahead with the draft resolution and just substitute in is that for now we'll go with the Purple Air model. Almost all of these sites, by the way, on the map are Purple Air installations. I'm thinking maybe we're in a position that we can say, yeah, we need some more in our area. We need something up closer to the freeway, and we need something by the refinery. We need something by Western Avenue, maybe another one by a school. What do you think?
Agree.
But
But we already have one by the school.
Yeah, well, it reports, so I guess it's working. Yeah. It'd be nice to know if that's on somebody's property or who's operating it. Maybe the school is operating it. Maybe the Board of Education is checking it. Maybe, I guess we don't really know. Can we, is that draft resolution in a position where, does somebody have it that they can put it up on the screen sharing and we can work on that? And then I noticed.
What he's looking at for it.
Well, I didn't send it to anybody. I sent it in a draft. I sent it in a response to an email from Christian a couple, last week or something. I think that's my memory of what I did with it.
It looks like it's right at the school.
Yeah, if this location's accurate, it is the school, and it does say it's Taper ES for elementary school. So it's like the school has one themselves.
Pat, do you know how to screen share? Or do you want us to try to screen share it?
I don't know how to screen share.
I have to
Okay.
drop because I have to host a meeting in like 3 minutes on Zoom for work. So
Okay,
no meeting minutes here.
let me see what I can do here.
Do you need the link or you got it?
Oh, if you could put the link in the chat, then I could do the rest.
I will do that.
Notice Hasham Yonis is, joined us. Hasham, you're at Cal State Dominguez Hills.
Yes, hello. How you all doing?
Good. I wish Dr. Tom was online. I guess he'll join us pretty soon. Maybe I'll give him a call so he could introduce you.
Yes. I'll just take a minute to introduce myself. My name is Hasham Yunus. I'm an undergrad student at Dominguez Hills. My major is business administration with a concentration in global supply chain management and logistics. And I was a recent recipient of the fellowship that goes by Dwight D. Eisenhower Transportation Fellowship. And basically, I did receive some funding to do any research study that I like, and I decided to focus in on the pollution in basically the South Bay. And I reached out to Professor Norman, and I asked him to be my mentor and my advisor, and he agreed. And he sent me a bunch of information about this committee and the activities around the area. So he invited me to this meeting, and I just wanted to drop in and see what was going on. So that's a little bit about me.
Sorry to interrupt you guys. I have to drop. I don't
Okay, cool.
think I can actually send a chat. I can just see Q&A on here. I can see where a chat button is like in a normal Zoom. So Pat has the link, Christian, so he can send it to you, or I can send an email. But I got to drop, so I'll talk to you guys later. Have a good meeting.
Okay, yeah, I'll put it in chat, Christian.
Looks like Craig is on.
Yeah, Craig is on, and Tom Norman, I just called him. He thought the meeting started at 6:30.
Oh, so he'll be here.
Yeah, he'll be here shortly. And Sham, we're talking about just dispersing or installing air quality monitors in our Northwest Neighborhood Council area. And Tom Norman said something about your project, so he invited you. Let's see, I'm looking for that draft resolution in the meantime.
Actually, I could try to pull it up, but if one of you can let in Thomas Norman, if you're the co-host, Pat, do you know how to do that?
Yeah, I'm not the co-host, I don't think. He's a member of the committee. Would he can just use support, the sign in, can't he? Or is he?
I think I got it. I think he should be coming in soon.
Oh, yeah, he's, okay, there he is. Okay.
Thank
There
you.
he is.
Apologize for you guys waiting.
Okay. Your student, Hasham, is on too. You can see him there. He introduced himself and told us a little bit about his project.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where we are on the agenda, but if Hasham introduced himself, he hopefully talked about the grant that might be of interest, in terms of, I think he'd be open to taking recommendations as this committee is recommending air quality sensors. What we're able to do might be supplemented by the fact that he's got a stipend to purchase a few purple air sensors. And as we've spoken, he's interested in two that would maybe be more in areas where it would measure the impact of the trucking versus an area that would measure the impact of the shipping. So that's my quick synopsis of where I think that there's some synergy, and is finding ways for communities like Northwest San Pedro to, partner with our four-year public university in the area.
We could do one at the police station. They're right there on the road for the trucks. And by the freeway.
Yeah.
Bet you they'd like to know what the air that stuff is by their area too.
Hassan, can I ask you a question? How long is your project going to go? Are you going to be around doing it for more than a year?
Unfortunately, I heard about this program far too late in my university career, so I have one semester to study and then submit a final draft. That's the
Okay.
unfortunate part. So it's only gonna be until, I believe, May is when I have to submit the final draft.
Oh, okay.
But is it possible, like with the sensors, then is it possible for them to stay there and for another student to continue monitoring?
I think, yeah, I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
I had in the back of my mind somebody to run this program, Tom.
okay.
I was gonna recruit him for that, but you know, Jason has said that he would do it and would help install them and set them up and things like that when we selected spots for them. Christian, were you able to find the draft
Councilman,
resolution?
and I sent you the resolution. Could you share it? I was trying to share it, but since I'm letting people in on Zoom, it's kind of like a lot of balls up in the air. So maybe Norman could be able to share it.
Oh,
All right,
I'm-
so you emailed that to me when, Christian?
Yeah, just now. It might come in like.
Just now. Okay. I'm happy to share once I get it. The other thing I'm going to share while we wait for it to come in is that Hassan maybe share this is a Department of Transportation grant. He got to go to DC, right? It really was a nice grant. And my experience with these grants from a university point of view is once he's proved the concept, it'll be easier for me to find. And you know, I invite you, Hisham, to help me find a student you know that's a good junior deserving, right, to apply earlier and get in this process. So we can keep this going and maybe you know, that's something I might even want to share with other Wilmington and Northwest or San Pedro groups, in that what we've heard from the port commissioners is the delay in which they give us their official data is like a year and 3 months or a year and 4 months, kind of too late.
Yeah, it's worthless by then.
and not only that, some of them don't work and haven't worked for 4 years or more.
And they're pretending they still work?
Well, they didn't know that they weren't working until they don't pay attention to them. AQMD, look at the sensors like AQMD and ARB and the port installs and the refinery install are not in the residential community. They're in the industrial areas. They're looking at, you know, what's called fence line data. So Wilmington, the refinery, when it does things, it reports data at the fence line and not in the community. Okay, here it is.
All right, there we go. Yep. And thank you, President Guzman, for sending that. Sorry, it took a little while to get through.
It's fine. Thank you for sharing it.
There's a couple of things just as background on this is a draft resolution that I'm proposing that addresses two main things. One is the reason why we're doing this, and that's what the whereas clauses do. And it says, you know, the bad ones are the 2.5 particulates. These purple arrow ones also measure the 10s, the PM10s. The third whereas clause, it helps us to determine potential impacts from development projects that affect our stakeholders, and it helps shape future policies regarding air quality impacts on health and safety. And that goes to how the environmental community assesses dangers, you know, health risks. As I said before, everybody was here. Right now, they just measure cancer risks, and they don't look at you know, asthma, childhood asthma, COPD, and things like that. They occasionally will measure days missed from work or days missed from school, things like that. But there's not enough emphasis on that, and it's not standard in the evaluation community. The fourth whereas clause, it says that, you know, other people do measure, but they measure industrial areas and they do it only sporadically. There's not too many. The fifth one was there's not too many in our area. Jason has
Can you
one.
rotate this up so I can see the bottom? I can read faster than Pat can talk.
Okay. The now therefore clause says, hey, spend $1,200 on the 4. That'll be enough to get the kind of air quality monitor that Jason has. It does all the things that are in the criteria that they be plug-in type things, that they be constant sampling, and that they have data storage. Those are the 3 kind of main things to do, and so $1,200 would be enough. That the collection sites will be established in the outdoor areas of volunteered residences. This one,
Can I
would-
see the bottom of it?
the Jason is recommending that it be done on a yearly basis rather than a monthly or bi-monthly, in order to take out variations in season and things like that, to do that. So you might want to change that monthly, bi-monthly to a yearly. Yeah. Okay, good. And then the freeway
Jason
people-
said it needs to set for a long trend, which is longer than a yearly. It needs to be 2 or 3 years.
I'm
You
sorry,
want to
what?
compare seasons to season. So you want to see spring against spring, summer against summer. These are not things you put out there and sit and move every year. That you want to go for what Jason was saying, in which if you look at trending, you need to look at long term. If things increasing, you're not going to see that on a month to month basis. You're going to see it on a year to year basis, because there's a cycle in this.
We will be able to see by comparing results from the various monitors, Craig. That's probably
No, he was very succinct about what he just said. And I agree with him, because it follows scientific principles. You need to have long-term trending. You need to sit it in one place for a long period of time to see it. And you need to see seasonal data from year to year. It's not
Well-
something that, and you have those other ones, they're in permanent sites. That's how you do it. That's part of the scientific method, Pat.
you don't really know that, but anyway, let's take out.
Oh,
the
I'm sorry, you know it.
Well, you're guessing, but that's okay. You take out the on an annual basis. You just say on outdoor areas of volunteered residences and on the basis of proximity to suspected PM 2.5 generators. Okay, so there's 2 bases here. One is suspected 2.5 generators. I mean, we know the most common PM 2.5 generators are tire scuffings, products of internal combustion engines, and a few other things. Those are the big ones. And so we get the data, to have them in proximity to those as close as we can get them, but we want to know the impacts in our neighborhoods.
We only want the 2.5. I thought you wanted the other one too, the second one.
Well, tens also get measured by these purple air.
Oh, okay.
You get them both. The 2.5s are the really dangerous ones because they can pass cellular barriers and lodge in the brain.
I was wondering if our, citizen attendee who's done some research on that, if you had any feedback, just, guidance, in terms of the first whereas, is that, consistent with what Department of Transportation, what they're interested in supporting you in measuring, Hassan? Like, do you see any emissions? Because I think we're open, or at least I'm open to expertise. And I would second Craig's, in terms of doing a lot of research studies. I do think we need to keep stuff in the same area for multiple years because there's a seasonality. And so I don't know if you have any, any comments on the method and the approach, and, any wording there.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree with I believe it's Craig. Because it is important to see that long-term data, which I said is obviously, like, after the required amount of study is done, I can like leave them, and long-term data, I feel like that would benefit everybody. So I agree with that right there. And then also I just have to look into a little bit more about the PM 2.5 particulates. I haven't had much time, I will admit, but I know that what is on here is accurate, and I think that's what we should be measuring. So I think we're going in the right direction with this.
But then the purple measures other things. I know in what I saw, you're also looking at other, other levels of gases and things. So, I think, having more data available is good. The other observation, I think that fits with the theme of what we're trying to do, and what Pat spoke about is there's another study I came across from the university about 3 years ago showing correlations of reduced, young childhood test scores, right? So what Hassam will encourage to do with the regression analysis is looking at things, to Craig's point, the seasonality, but even then shipping traffic, right? Because if we do this long term and then say, we have 8, right? If Northwest San Pedro can fund 4, and then we strategically place another 8, that's all the public will have access to that. And I think something I've heard others here, be concerned about is what's happened with all these ships, idling, right? I mean, we'll actually be able to get correlations to say, we now know when that happens, this is what you've done to the community, and we can actually expect some negative impacts, unfortunately, to like Pat's point about stuff's going to get through the brain barrier, right? So we're poisoning everybody. But I know I particularly was drawn into this topic because I saw the child test scores, right? There seemed to be no explanation other than pollution for how poorly some of the elementary schools are doing in our areas.
It's almost like we're being forced to smoke cigarettes by just breathing this air.
Yeah, no, that's a very important, I think, factor that we should also measure. I feel like that might take a little longer than the semester that I'm going to be in allows for. But obviously that's very important as well, and that's something that we should be focusing on. And by doing the proper outreach and reaching out to the schools and seeing if they want to first, release that data in the first place, that would be the first step to going about in that direction.
Yeah, I'd like to point out, we're not all of this is looking at a multi-year study. If we get spikes in an area that's by the freeway or by the refinery or something like that, we've got enough on a fairly quick basis to go and talk to them and say, hey, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Even when they flare or something, we might get really big spikes where they say, oh, there's no pollution going out, and we find out there is. That'd be
Well,
interesting.
there's always pollution going out when they flare. They already know that. They won't admit to it. That's why they get fined by AQMD. The problem is South Coast air quality. One of the things, and maybe Hashem can do this, is to talk to AQMD, and they probably have separate sites around also, because knowing them very well. But there's other things that cause particulate matter, even at the 2.5, which is there's a lot of dusting especially when they're doing construction sites. That's why if you're watching construction sites, they're supposed to be wetting the ground all the time. And if they don't, and this is always a big problem. That's why if you see them sometimes doing it and sometimes not up at Ponte Vista, and there's a lot of areas, and then you have a lot of, I used to go, when I go over the bridge to Long Beach, you still have a lot of dirt lots out on Terminal Island. And when the wind picks up, all that dust picks up and gets in the air. And I'm assuming that that's what happens on the backside of the freeway also, because there's no cover, we don't have much rain except for this odd occurrence today. So, you need to look at this, and it's very, to tell you, I was a treasurer and I talked to Melanie about this. We have to be specific where we put this, and we have to show them specifically what we bought. I did a lot of research until I got, and the thing is, there were 2 models from Purple Air, and the one model you had to hook up to a computer, but the other model you could put in a chip SD chip and record on it. I'm also sure we could do some other stuff, but I mean, we could identify places, like he said, it had to be plugged in, but we could do a battery solar power thing. So we could research that and put that together, which would be along Northwest's idea. So, I mean, but what the city's gonna ask, what the clerk's office is gonna ask, is they're gonna want us to identify exactly, we're gonna put it, exact costs, because they're very specific about that sort of thing.
Well,
So when we identify some of those places now, I've heard somebody say the police station. So should we start adding that to the resolution? Some of the
Well, we
intended
would
places?
have to identify it and get permission from, 'em, but I would say the police, something like the police station, like you're saying, and I would, you know, I would try for things like, I want to say this side of the freeway, which is, so I'm just on the west side of the Harbor Freeway. So anything, you know, you want to catch particulates matters coming into Northwest from and a lot of it's coming from the freeway, not just from, you know, the truck traffic. You'd want to catch, you'd want to put something further down near the refinery, because I'm sure, especially when we get flares, all that flare, when you see a flare and you see the black smoke coming off of it, that's particulate matter.
Is there a city property anyone is aware of near the refinery, or
Yeah, the police department.
okay,
No,
has,
on the other side.
yeah, you know, I want to interject here. I'm going to be real frank here. The city clerk have very little experience in doing the purchasing for the city of Los Angeles. And when the harbor department, for example, buys something, they don't have to say specifically what they're going to do with it and where they're going to put them. I am confident that the material that's already there in that paragraph that you're editing, Tom, and then in the next paragraph, that we want them located on the basis of proximity to sensitive receptors such as schools, hospitals, parks, and heavily used active recreation areas is sufficient, and we can get this through the city clerk and through the purchasing requirements of the city and the city charter.
Well, good luck.
Really concerned about it.
I invite you to do it, Pat.
I'd be
I've
happy to
done it
do it.
many times. I know what they do, and I talked to Melanie, and she was very specific on that point. So
Well,
if
she
you could
wasn't
go
there.
get it through, be my guest.
I
I
talked
have
to-
no, I think we should just identify, get the sites
Yeah.
prepped and ready and go, rather than sitting here and saying, oh, well, maybe here, maybe there. It's easier. It's easy to talk, you know, and
Being
with the help of maybe Hashem here, we could probably get
one
a,
of the things I did in my professional career was serving as counsel to the Elected Charter Reform Commission, and I wrote the contracting provisions of the city charter in Article 3. I'm not, and I did it for a long time, for 30 years for the port.
how long ago was that, Pat?
So I'm.
How long ago was that, Pat?
How
You
long
don't
ago
think
was
things
that?
have changed in 20 years? I'm sorry. I have dealt with those guys recently. I talked to Melanie. She said the same thing.
so
I don't even know why we're arguing about this. This is a simple thing to do.
So to move forward, I'm looking at Google Maps and just saying intended, if that would help smooth it over, and we could even have a sense. But I'll trust you guys who have watched this, right? I haven't paid attention. So I was looking at city property where I'm guessing we'd have access to an electrical outlet, and it should be easier to get permission to put a purple device. So when I looked at 4 places that were kind of far apart, you know, Peck Park, I'm assuming we could put something. Leland Park, Harbor Highland seem to be on one side of the highway, and then the harbor community is kind of closer to the harbor. Do those sound, you know, somebody have other proposals? Because I'm just pulling them off Google Maps out of ignorance.
I'm
but
thinking that Peck Park and those parks would be good because they aren't monitored or supervised, and people will just destroy or steal the
How
apparatus.
about the sanitation yard?
Okay, sanitation yard.
We probably want to get something further up. Pat had mentioned Western.
Well, then maybe Peck Park is good. That gets up to Western.
It is at Western, but where would you put it that it's safe, that somebody wouldn't steal it?
Well, if it was up high enough, would people know to steal it? I'm not gonna.
Well,
I'm not saying they won't. I see them, vandalize stuff all the time.
I'm
but-
just saying, because they're like $3,000, that's a lot of money for us to lose.
Well, they're
I-
$500, $500
I thought
each.
they were about
Oh, I thought they were
500.
3,000.
No, they're $287 a piece.
Oh, why'd we say 12,000 then, when we said that?
No,
They were
1200.
400, the
1200.
ones I saw were 485 or something.
$287. It's $1,200 is the amount, not 12,000.
I think there's two models. Hassam, which model did you decide to go with?
The one that you're talking about, the one that has a chip versus the one that
Yeah.
doesn't have a chip. I wanted to get the one that had the chip in it so that it would be easier to extract the data and it wouldn't be as intensive.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more expensive, but it's going to be less on labor because you don't have to watch it all the time or have a computer. And buying a computer adds a lot of cost.
Right.
Well, this is there's two models of Purple Air lists that are in the category that Jason has. One is 250 something and one is 287.
Yeah, that second
chip-
one is the one I was planning on purchasing.
The second one is the one that you can plug in, and that one is a more reliable power source. That's why Jason has it. That's why I've put the figure of 1,200, because that allows you to get the more expensive model. I would say this paragraph or this sentence that you just added, Tom.
Yeah.
I think we can untie our hands a little bit by saying something like the suggested locations instead of intended locations or
Okay.
something. Harbor Highland Park already has a sensor. Unfortunately, it's in the yard next to Harbor Highlands Park and on I think it's Southern California Gas Company site. I'm not sure.
Okay, so I can delete that one if that's redundant, but just trying to get some areas, and then it also gives us, we can divide up and try to get permission, right? So start trying to contact whoever manages those facilities.
Yeah, and and then Jason lives right by Peck Park. And then maybe stick in there the hospital.
Okay.
As a sensitive receptor. It's down in the next paragraph, the sensitive receptor schools, hospitals.
How about
Somebody
something
can
near
take notes.
Ponte Vista? Especially since they're doing so much construction over there.
How do you spell it? I don't even know where Ponte Vista is.
That's it.
Ponte Vista is western.
The housing area
Right.
being built.
Oh,
where they're-
okay,
the-
okay,
The old,
okay, yeah.
the old
Yep.
Navy Yard.
Okay.
The one that almost butts up to my house. We have all their dust and all their rain. When it rains, we get it into our condos.
So can that be further along on Western? Have we if we identify where the other ones were and whether we could get access to them, then we could, we could set up a spreadsheet and then start gathering data and stuff like that. I'm
Sure.
assuming Mr. Yunus would be much more on that.
The other thing, we could make this a community project. So I was just, I'm sorry I was late. I was interviewing for a principal for Holy Trinity, but I was with Mike Marinkovich at Mary Star, their vice principal. And, they would have the means to buy one of these, and then, it all gets shared to the website, right? So if there's one at Mary Star, that gets a little closer to the dust, and then it helps get the community involved, right? I could see some high school students, liking to research this too, right? And getting a sense of it. So I'm getting more excited about the idea because the more sensors we get, and then we keep them up for a couple of years, we really, I think, are doing a good service of being informed. So that's the other thing. I'm going to talk to Mike because I see him tomorrow. Just about, is that something the school would want to do independently? And then that gives us an area where, as I understand this Purple website, right, that you have the ability to share, so we can all see everybody else's monitors. A little bit like my when I take my temperature, it crowdsources to the whole world, so you can kind of see if you're going to get COVID or kind of the crowdsourcing. So
One of the things, when Jason and I want to talk to Purple Air and see if there's a way to connect all these sensors that they've installed in and around San Pedro, actually all over the place. just not very many in Northwest. To see if we can do exactly that, Thomas, or Tom.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking more along the line Tom was when I was starting to do some thing on this, and I thought we should work with the Youth and Outreach Committee. And, you know, this would be a great thing to get around schools
Mhm.
and let the kids learn. And then we would kill two things with one stone. And I mean, we want information and we also want to educate children. And this would be this would be a great way of doing it.
And by the hospital, do you mean the Providence and Pedro Urgent Care?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll put in the, and that's not city, so again, if we put it there, we have to talk to a independent party.
Uh,
Well,
I-
it can be somebody who lives around next to it. Could
I
be a
mean, looking
resident.
at the power supply, I think we can easily do this with solar panels and backup batteries, which would free us a bit. And it's also something along our ecological lines.
Jason's-
And
yeah.
maybe if Jason's not able to do it, I can reach out to my engineer friends and see if they can work it out.
Jason says it's like charging a phone. Here's the amount of power it pulls.
Yeah, he said USB port.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at. You see if you look at the thing, it says it's a 5-volt USB micro. You can
Mhm.
easily power that with a solar panel and you can get a backup battery. You know, I'm pretty sure, which would free us from having to, wire it into us. The problem is we want to put it up high so it doesn't get stolen. And the way to do that is, and also have it wired to a power source without having to pay. And you're not going to have a real long cable or anything like that.
Well, I'm thinking, at the most, like where I am right now, we have a plug that's right by the back door. I can certainly run, and I have some outdoor outlets. So I'm just thinking,
They won't,
people would
they
probably
won't
be
let us put things on private residences.
who won't?
Yeah, who
Done.
won't?
The clerk.
Yeah, well,
Would the
They-
hospital be
That's
private?
why, no, they would probably consider that. But they don't want it at people's homes. They have a very big prejudice against that. That's why they stop us from storing things. We used to store, I
Oh,
used
yeah,
to
yeah,
keep
yeah,
the
that's
sound
right.
equipment and stuff like that. And now you have to go put it things. They're afraid that, things get lost that way.
well.
So they'll want that's one of the reasons why they want a specific place we're gonna place it.
It's an obstacle I think that we can overcome. I'm not sure it's an obstacle, but we can address that.
Does anybody have any idea how to cost out Craig's suggestion? Because I think that's kind of appealing, the solar panel, solar battery. I don't know where to buy those or what that would look like. Does anybody know what that would be on Amazon or?
I mean, I was thinking, because I use these Wise cameras,
Yeah,
and they just came out with a solar panel and a battery to do these remotely. And I was wondering if that would be adequate. It may
And you
not
have to
be.
it has to have the right wattage and the right amps too, though.
Yeah, but this is USB 5.5 volt. So
Okay.
this is fairly standard. So if we had I could do more research into it, but there's other things. It's not the only one that's available. I've seen other ones because I was researching this for my camera system. If I could remote my cameras and put them out where I didn't have a plug. So I think I can do some research on it. We can approach Jason. I can call up some friends of mine that are electrical engineers and ask them if they could could come up with what we would need. But it doesn't seem to be that difficult. The requirement doesn't seem to be that high. Hashem, you've worked with this a lot?
No, this is my first time.
Okay, I would assume that you would have a little bit more knowledge on it than I do.
Christian has his hand raised. What do you got, Christian?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think it would be a good idea if we can to add also another park in the Northwest Council area, and then also maybe we could put something kind of near 5 Points, like where they used to play softball, or where they still play softball, or near the shooting range. That
Like
might
the
be
shooting
good.
range, that would be safer, the shooting range.
The school up there
Yeah.
might do it too.
They would be dissuaded from stealing it, but I think it would be good to include some parks, because that way you can see how well the trees mitigate the pollution.
What was the first one, Christian? I wasn't on the game for the first one. I heard the shooting range.
Then he said the parks.
Okay, so we have a couple. Tell me which parks you want. Should I put Peck Park back on there, are you saying, or?
We have one
Park.
near Peck Park, so
Oh, we have one, so we don't need that one. Okay.
I would, God, that's a county park. I don't know. I was,
Oh.
the one up on Capitol, but it's actually RPV's park, and it's right in the middle of, and there's one at the school at Taper. That correct, Pat?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm just
So-
looking at this, well, I think, I'm
I
looking at this.
Probably put one at the Science Center pretty easily. They seem to be very open to new ideas, so why
Yeah,
don't we
but
put
that's
the
right
science-
next to Taper School, the Science Center.
Well, it's good to have some redundancy, because that way, like Jason said, if someone's got their gas grill going over at the Taper Elementary, then the Science Center one would kind of offset that, and we'd be able to figure out that it's just an anomaly. So some redundancy is good, I think.
Yeah, 'cause some of these, like the sanitation yard, gets us the soccer fields. It probably gets us the container freight station and packing station up on Westmont, and it gets us the freeway, the 110 freeway as well.
We probably could get it easier over on the Field of Dreams than we could on the sanitation yard, but they're adjacent to each other. And that's a source of particulates, because they do all the composting over there.
Well, that's at the sanitation yard right there. by
Yeah.
that.
So that's right next to where the Field of Dreams is.
Yeah, just put it back there on the back fence as it joins the two.
Yeah.
That's
Is
safe,
the
putting it on a fence?
Well, I'm sure we could put it up on a pole or something there. I mean, they have some high fences around there.
Yeah, if it gets hit by a home run, it gets hit by a home run, just like the shooting range, right? I'm more afraid of people shooting at it.
These are soccer balls, and I don't know if we.
Okay. Oh, I'm not worried a soccer ball. The line drive.
If we put it out there at the softball fields, I mean, I'm sure we could probably get permission to put it at the shooting range. I shouldn't say that. I would think we could get permission to put it at the shooting range.
Of course, they would allow it. The police wouldn't say anything to that.
I guess refinery too.
We've been working on this item for about an hour, and I think that we have a representative from the Wilmington area. Maybe she wants to weigh in on number 4. So do we want to move on to number 4, and then we can come back if we want, I suppose.
Yeah.
Okay. So Pat, did you want me to also, or if I can't share, do you want me to send that one to Norman also, the Han letter?
Oh, no, can we finish one thing on it? I'd like to take out that last paragraph, the last be it further resolved, that so-and-so be appointed to oversee the evaluation. I don't think we need that. And can we just dispose of this by moving this on and sending it on out to, pass this resolution out of committee get it ready for the,
Don't we have more than 4
That's fine.
sites? We only are asking for 4.
yeah, you might want to change the, where it says the suggested locations are, you say the location, suggested locations could include the Harbor Community Police Station.
Yeah.
Would that be okay?
Yeah, of course.
That sounds
Oh.
better.
Can I also confirm, so does Hasham's grant, is that gonna allow for more air sensors? So in addition to the ones we might buy, or is that?
Well, what's nice is Hasham's got to do his research. So once he gets them, he's going to put them up. But this will inform his decision. I think Hasham is open. He needs, he wants 2 that are going to be close to truck traffic and 2 closer to the marine. So, maybe one of them won't fit Northwest Council, but say if even 3 of the 4 did, then when we go to choose ours, we can choose accordingly because we already know there's some areas covered with the same thing. And, the university is going to share the data, willingly with seeing where the state's going to share, at least seeing I oversee it. I'm going to share with the city. I guess, yeah, sometimes the state doesn't want to, but, from that perspective, that I have the ability to make sure anybody in the public who wants to see the data can get the data.
Yeah. For the one that you mentioned, actually about the one near the marine area, I was thinking of going straight to the port and just contacting someone with the port authority and seeing if I could set one up there. And I really like the idea that Craig had about the solar panel powered battery, because that means that we could set it up there, let it be exposed to all the emissions and everything else that it will collect, and it can be left out there for months at a time. And probably I'll still go check up on it every week or so, just to confirm that it's still there and it's still operating well. And that's just going to be for one of them. And then the other ones, I was thinking I want to put it up near maybe the 710 freeway, somewhere around there where the truck traffic starts and ends, just so we can measure, the emissions that come from the trucks themselves. And then the other 2, I guess, are up for us to decide where they're going to go.
The freeway would be the police station because they're right underneath where everything starts, right next to the port and then right underneath the
Yeah,
freeway.
they're also, it's one of the truck exits from Yangming Terminal.
Mhm.
Actually, it's Yangming Terminal and China Shipping is right. Comes
So that'd
right
be a
out
really good spot.
there.
Yeah, I'll definitely look into that and I'll try to contact them if I can get someone to answer my request.
At the police station, you can just go visit, just go in and talk
Okay.
to somebody.
If you have, Thomas has my number. If you have a problem, I'll reach out and try and contact people.
Okay.
Thank you,
You can
Greg.
contact me and tell me, and I mean, making phone calls is easy, or going, some of the people I know.
Yeah, they have a community person that could help you out there. They deal with the community and that would be a community issue.
I think that's Sergeant Song.
Yeah,
Yep.
I'll probably reach out to them at the community affairs, San Pedro Police Department then.
Okay.
Tom, I have one.
Okay. We should get as far as we can with this, and we'll hope and cross our fingers that the city clerk is okay with it. If not, we can always refine it. But I think that we have a specific enough idea of everything that needs to be given to them, and so is there a motion to pass the resolution as it is?
Was there
I
a
have
quick
one.
amendment, Pat?
Yeah, I do have a real quick, in light of the conversation tonight, I think in the last paragraph, we should take out the sites be established, take out in the outdoor areas of volunteered residences. And so it would say that collection sites. be established-
Second line. Yeah.
Yeah, in the outdoor areas, yeah, just take that out. So that established on the basis of proximity to suspected generators such as freeways, busy highways,
Got it.
so on and so
Okay,
forth.
so I move the committee accept this resolution to send to the full board.
Okay. Is
Second.
there a second?
We've already approved this weeks ago about doing it. We're just putting in the thing. I mean, you
Oh,
can vote on it if you want, but we've already passed this. Just
Oh,
be
oh,
the
oh,
specific.
we don't have to, I didn't want to go into that amendment where I got confused last meeting where we're amending on the floor, so it's trying to get it in good shape from the committee.
Oh,
That
yeah,
doesn't
yeah,
help.
yeah. He's right.
I mean, this is, we wanted to get this. What we had to do is fill in the blanks.
Yeah,
So-
well, I think we should just vote on it. That way we have the specific
No
language
problem.
locked. You can have it on the minute, so. Go, Pat, were you gonna vote or what were you? Did you have your hand
Yeah.
up?
Did it get seconded? I'm ready to vote.
Yeah, I think Cynthia, did you second it, Cynthia?
Yep.
Okay, so all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I-
Aye.
Any opposed?
Right.
Okay, so then the resolution is adopted, so we'll forward that to the executive committee and then the executive committee can put that on the agenda.
It's got to go to the
Cool.
finance committee and then they send it.
Yeah. It has to go
Oh,
through
yeah.
Melanie.
Melanie would want to see it again. Okay, in that case, I'll forward it
She
to.
she has to look at it and see whether it'll pass. And then she'll
Okay.
say whether she'll send it back to us or she'll send it on to the executive committee.
Okay, so we'll give it to Melanie then. I think there's time for it to be on the budget committee that will potentially then approve it for March then. We'll do that. Okay, well, again, I think we might have Gina Martinez from the Wilmington Neighborhood Council. I think it says Gina WNC. So welcome, Gina. I think she's also our minute taker. Welcome, Madam Minute Taker as well. And then, well, I think we have a potential letter that Janice Hahn, the supervisor for Los Angeles County, is proposing to not allow for storage of shipping containers at the park and ride over at the corner of the 110 freeway and PCH, which is actually where I used to live. I moved since then, but that's a good resource. I think that all the park and rides are very good resources, and I don't think they should be taken over by things like that. So, Pat, did you want me to try to pull it up, or can you share that? Or do you want me to send it to Ms. Marlin
I don't know
again?
how to share anything and I'm not a co-host, but if you can share that,
Okay.
that'd be great.
Okay,
Pat won't
Thomas,
share anything.
yeah,
What if I could?
Thomas, if I send that to you, could you also share that?
I will. I just feel like, yeah, poor Pat should have gone to a better elementary school where they taught him how to share.
That's a good one.
Hopefully I was taking you light. I don't want to be uncivil, but I just. All right. As soon as it comes, I will send it. And Christian, I'm giving you the revised version, an email right now.
Can you guys hear me?
We can, Gina.
Hey, well, thank you all for the welcome. Thank you, Christian. Thank you, Pat. Thank you, San Pedro, for taking this on up. Also, thank you to Diana and Pat for working with Wilmington and inviting them to join these meetings. So we really appreciate it. And we did receive an email about 2 days ago, basically saying that the site was removed from the state list. So we're hoping, that actually will take place. And I am your minute taker. I love your meetings. You guys are so on top of things. So kudos to you.
That it?
That's it. I'm actually in between meetings. We have a bylaws meeting right now, so I'm toggling between the two. So please forgive me.
No problem. I thought we were gonna get a long thing, so, okay. Do you have that letter?
No, I just
have
sent it.
them.
I sent it to Tom. We'll probably pull it up in a minute or two. But thanks, Gina, for coming, and we should coordinate because Northwest is right next to Wilmington, especially
Exactly.
region. So very good.
Well, I appreciate all you guys are doing. I enjoy your meetings. I'm kind of new to minute taking, so I like learning, and I really enjoy. You have such knowledgeable people, and everybody does what they're supposed to. So, thank you.
Okay, very good. Well, that's good news then. If the state removed removed that from the potential consideration. That's good. I think perhaps we should still pass it or consider it. That
I
in that
agree.
case, yeah, in that case where
Just in
ends
case
up being-
something happens, and I'll forward over the email that we received. And that way you can have it as well for your records. But yes, I definitely would appreciate if you still passed it in case for some reason it comes back up in the future.
I'll move that we support the Janice Hahn letter.
It's hard to
Okay,
support
well,
something we haven't seen.
let's
Yeah.
take a-
I'm not
Very
familiar with that.
yeah,
Was it in the
we'll take a
agenda?
quick look at it. It's-
All right,
it's
it
pretty
came
simple.
in. You'll be able to see it in about 10 seconds here.
Yeah, was it in the agenda packet? I think it was, wasn't it?
There we go. Can we see it?
Yeah.
Yes.
So to the governor from Janice Hahn.
Yeah, so I guess we could do like popcorn on this. I'll do the first paragraph and then we'll kind of power through it. So our port adjacent communities have asked, or if you want to read it silently, go ahead as well. Our port adjacent communities have asked repeatedly to bear the brunt, have been asked rather, repeatedly to bear the brunt of our goods movement supply chain challenges. This has resulted in deteriorating air quality, increased congestion, and 24/7 truck traffic through residential neighborhoods. And it has come to my attention that the Wilmington Park and Ride lot located at PCH and the 110 freeway and owned by Caltrans is being considered for 6 high shipping container stacking as a way to provide additional storage space for excess containers. Okay. Popcorn, Thomas.
I agree with you that our goods movement supply chain crisis needs urgent attention and action, and I fully support you in these efforts. However, this location is not appropriate for what is being considered. Popcorn to Cynthia.
You know what? The pictures are cutting off everything on the right. I don't know how to get rid of them. Oh, thank you. That's better. When I was a city council member many years ago, it was extremely important to me that we remove stacked containers from encroaching on the backyards of residential homes. Wilmington is home to many low-income and minority families, and the shipping containers previously permitted in those areas resulted in many environmental and health impacts. These stacked containers not only caused rodent infestations, they caused the sun to set an hour earlier for many residents. We cannot repeat these mistakes now. It is crucial that we do not further burden our low-income communities that have long suffered from impacts associated with the goods movement industry. And Craig?
Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm away from the computer right now.
Okay, David.
Yeah, okay. For all these reasons, the Wilmington Park and Ride is not an appropriate location to be considered for any shipping container storage needs. Thank you sincerely, Janice Hahn, Supervisor.
Was this on our agenda though? I mean, we can't vote on it unless it's been on our agenda, right?
Oh yeah, it was on the agenda as number 4.
Okay, don't remember seeing it. Alrighty, I was looking at Pat's stuff more.
Okay. All right, well, Pat, I think, did you move to support the letter?
Did we lose Pat?
Yeah, I did. Need a second.
Okay, is there a second letter?
I'll second.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded for the Northwest, so the Port Committee, we should be specific, for the Port Committee to recommend that the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council endorse the letter. And so all those in favor say aye.
All right.
Hey,
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Okay, very good. The motion carries then, and so then we'll forward this along to the executive committee and they will put it on the agenda for March. And did David Libatique end up coming? I know that I was in communication with Augie Bezmalinovich, who I think he's at another meeting tonight, but he said that David L. was coming to this meeting. For those of you who don't know, I don't know his title, but David Libatique works for the Port of Los Angeles, very intelligent man. And I think I arranged a meeting one time between him and Gwen, and I think Chris Valle might have been there, but we talked to him one time a couple of years ago, and he's open to a lot of new ideas, so I think that's good. But I don't know where the letter came from, that there's like a letter that is encouraging investment in the port, and I actually showed it to Augie, and he didn't even know where it came from, so I'm not sure where it came from, but they're seeking investment. And so if David L's not here, then we could like just broadly talk about it for a few minutes, and then perhaps we'll adjourn, and then next time we'll take it up again. I don't think there's a timeline. Pat, do you know anything about it?
Diana knows where it came from, and she showed it to me when she came back from some meeting. I think the port actually presented it to the Chamber of Commerce's Economic Development Committee. I think that's where it came from, but I don't know who generated it in the port. Let me ask her. All right, she's in her office listening to the Central Neighborhood Council meeting. The letter on port investment, you know, where'd you get that from? The Economic Development Committee?
Yeah.
Came from, who presented it to
I
the,
assume it, someone from the port. I don't know the person's name, unfortunately.
not Mike Galvin?
No, it did not come from Mike Galvin. It came from somebody else, and yeah, the port had obviously written the letter.
The port had obviously written a letter and was presented to the Economic Development Committee of the Chamber at their last meeting. And what did they ask? Did they ask you to?
No, I thought that the four things were things that the committee might want to know more about.
Oh,
I was as interested in the education of the committee about what these things were about, and possibly considering a letter of support. But it was first educating the committee of what are they about.
did you hear that?
Not
Did you
quite.
guys-
It was too faint. Can you repeat it, Pat?
Oh, Diana.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was sort of talking to Pat. I was as interested in the committee just trying to find out more about the contents of the letter and what the report was proposing. And then possibly considering support. But the first thing was to actually understand the four things. I thought they were all very interesting and worthy of learning more about. And so that was why I suggested that to the chair that he invite somebody from the port to come and speak at the meeting about the four of them.
They were long range type things, weren't they?
Yeah.
Well, in that case, I sent it over to a couple of the committee members again to perhaps share, but in the meantime, let me just kind of read out the important points, and I think that there's no timeline for it, so we'll just kind of get it on the radar, and then we can move on. I think that'll be okay. So I'll read some of it though in the meantime. Okay, so it's a letter asking for support for the long-term investments and changes that could help prevent future supply chain disruptions. And the port is intent on partnering with the supply chain stakeholders on measures to address the unprecedented strain on the nation's good movement system. Combine the ports of Los Angeles and Long Beach. Okay, so there's a paragraph about the influence that the ports have on the goods movement in the country. And then it says the need for continued federal and state partnership to build resiliency and adaptability into our goods movement system has never been greater than now. The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which became law recently, provides $17 billion for port and waterway infrastructure. We believe the several long-term investments and changes the Port of Los Angeles has identified can help prevent future disruptions. And then it talks about Terminal Island Cargo Support Facility. And it talks about workforce training and development, talks about supply chain visibility. I'm surprised that wasn't viability, but visibility. Talks about zero emission technology investment. Okay, so kind of well that I don't know if Thomas Norman will get that or not, and maybe he wants to share it, but essentially, I think it's always a good idea to invest in public infrastructure because you get like short and long-term benefits from investing in that kind of infrastructure. The short term, you get some jobs that are created for any kind of like construction project or like drafting a new supply chain or for electrical engineers to lay down some electrical infrastructure. So that'd be in the short term. And in the long term, you get, as the letter kind of indicates, the sustained economic availability of whatever infrastructure you bring forth. And I think I've seen recently in many studies that for every dollar you invest in public infrastructure, you can get like about $2.7 back over the long term on average, which is an incredible return on investment. So in general, I think investing in this kind of public infrastructure is a good thing. So I think that Thomas pulled up the letter there. And again, Diane, I don't know if there's like a timeline on it, but we can kind of just get it on our radar and then perhaps consider it again next month.
In terms of a letter of support, there probably is a timeline because these are things that are currently under consideration at either the state or federal level for funding. So the funding piece of it, the letter of support for the funding is timely. I don't know the exact timeline, but I do know they are currently under consideration. So there's not a lot of time if the purpose is to send a letter of support. I would add on the workforce training and development, it's training for the entire supply chain, and the funding here would be to develop a training center. The purpose of it would be to fund the actual physical training center.
They've been talking about this for a few months because when they passed the funding, the 17 billion for the port and stuff like that, they were talking about it even before, I would say about 3 or 4 months ago when they first got wind of the money coming. And they already had, I remember very succinctly them saying they had these plans previously, which falls in line because they know when they knew this was coming up.
They proposed a project on any of these things? I mean, a real project, this is where we're gonna build and spend 150 million building a building and things like that. Have they done any of their project planning work? You know, Diana?
I don't know. That's why I suggested maybe you could ask them those questions.
Well, Christian, maybe we should ask the port to send somebody over to the committee or to the council to talk about this.
Yeah, okay. Well, in that case, if we're not totally comfortable with deciding if the board should endorse the letter, maybe we can put it on the agenda for the full board just in case. And if the council, I think it's a relatively simple logic, but we might just have some questions. I mean, as was already stated, Port of Los Angeles is extremely influential on the area, and this could be a short and a long-term benefit if infrastructure is poured into it. So I think what I would recommend, if we're not comfortable endorsing it right now, we can put it on the agenda for the full board to consider, and then if they're not comfortable, they don't have to pass it. I think that's what I would recommend.
Well, I'll
Can you
second that motion.
Can you try and get Mr. Lebetique? I spoke to him before, to come and speak to the board?
Oh yeah, of course. I was told he was going to come to this meeting tonight, and so we'll reach back out to him, and then
I think I issued a PowerPoint on this.
what about it? What about a power?
I think he gave us, at one of the meetings, he gave a speech and there was a PowerPoint. And I put it in one of our meetings agendas. I'll see if I can pull it up. I won't I doubt I can find it right now, but if I find it, I'll send it out to the committee.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, let's consider it then over time, over the next few weeks, and then we'll take it back up at the full board. And then also I could put it on the executive committee agenda and ask David to come to that as well for some more in-depth questions. Maybe that would be good.
Maybe to add it to the tracking document that you put together.
Okay. About 7:30, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second,
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to adjourn the port committee meeting. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any
Wanted to
opposed?
thank Hasham.
oh yeah,
Yeah, thank you, Hisham. It was very
Thank you,
nice.
Sam.
Yeah, thanks for spending the evening with us, Sham. I appreciate it.
Learning about everything that you guys are talking about is really good work, and feel hopeful. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome to come back anytime and stay engaged with your community. That's excellent.
Thank you.
All right, and I've added this letter to our spreadsheet.
Good, good.
thank you.
Good night.
Have a
Night.
good night, everyone. Get
Good night.
well
Thank you.
out there when it's rainy.
Yeah, it was raining. I went out in the rain. It was,
Get bored.
yeah, it did. I had boxes out there and they were all getting soaking wet. Oh.
I had a paint project out, if that's any consolation, and it got wet. So we're, if you feel better, and it didn't make me feel better, but y'all have a good evening.
Night.
Take care.
Good
Bye,
night.
Craig. Bye.